Hi, I'm Chris Moreno. We're live here at Blueprint Live from the podcast stage with incredible leaders, innovators, marketing, media. And we've got Lisa Nickerson, my friend from Nickerson Cos and Infinityy.
Yeah.
Incredible experience working with some of the biggest developers in the world, I believe, some of the largest trade shows. You've got your fingers on the pulse.
I'm certainly working on it.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. What's something interesting that you've seen here or some of the things that maybe stand out to you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is the best blueprint I think there's been yet, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's here and it has been a lot of fun. I was actually just talking to Nadine Ezzi and we were saying this has been, I don't want to use the word overwhelming, but how do we capture all of the opportunities while we're here,
Incredible.
right? And we're thinking about next year,
Yeah.
right? And how we can capitalize on next year. So great to be here. You know, I sat in the session with Brendan Wallace and Diana Olick the other day.
Yeah.
And I am a huge climate buff myself, right? I really love to dive into that. And I thought it was really interesting how he was talking about the longer cycle of investment it takes with climate-based tech and that people needing to adopt it and then see the results from it. But how do we do that? How do rates factor into that? How does the government factor into that? But one of the things I think is equally interesting, because I hear this from my owners on the development or ownership side, is they're also bound to what the investors want. And a lot of times owners and developers need to build or make choices based on providing the largest return for the investors. So they'll say it's really about what the investors have in their thesis for their portfolios, and it's what they want to see. And so I think it really does go back to those investment partners and the institutional money saying, this is what we want to see from a sustainability standpoint. This is what we want to see from an ESG. And they also touched on the fact that AI is immediate gratification. Everyone's talking about AI. And how is that taking away from the sustainability and ESG conversation? And how do we loop back to it? Because we don't want to walk backwards. We want to go forward. So I think my biggest takeaway was just thinking about how do we look long-term and the importance of the sustainability and climate-based decisions that we're making right now in building and development. And how does the money really play a big part in how those choices get made?
I think one of the other things is you alluded, so for those who were able to make it, Brendan Wallace and the Fifth Wall team put on an amazing climate session. And they're really showing the benefits of climate, the impact it makes with real estate. And so I think to your point, what was really interesting is the metrics they share, the case studies they're sharing, and I think climate's having its moment in real estate finally. It's been a lot of discussion, and to your point, it's a long-term viewpoint because you know, development and reconstruction has never been there's never been an existential risk. And that seems to be like what you're saying is it's now happening. You got to make these decisions. Especially what the labor issues. You've got a lack of labor. You've got upgrades that need to happen. You've got change in insurance premiums. So you're seeing all of this.
But what if the sustainability choice is more expensive? Right? They may not provide as high a return. So it's really about what the investor wants to make happen, right? So they can make choices that are great long-term decisions. And thinking about that time horizon a little bit longer. The interview that I saw also was with Diana Olick from CNBC. And so it was great that she brought to the table the perspective of what she's reporting on too. And seeing this on the front lines. So, you know, again, it just speaks to the conference as a whole and the market leaders and the expertise that they're bringing to the table.
What's your number one hot take right now that many others may not have the same consensus view on?
Oh, hot take. Well, there are a lot of tech companies here, and I think it's interesting to see who's rising to the top, and it's see who's got the longevity, who's getting funded, who's got that tenacity. And I think my hot take is really just keeping an eye on who's starting to rise to the top, because it's certainly a big marathon with a lot of people in it right now.
When I love to have gotten to know you and your husband as well, who you've both been founders, prolific investors, built great companies. So thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks, Chris.
Excited to follow along your ride, especially in real estate and media. So
great.
Thank you so
Chris.
much.
Thanks for having me.